Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Round two. For those of you who are not on the earlier Zoom, we had discussed going paperless. And really what we talked about was some of the products that were coming from California Title all the way up to the preliminary title report coming to you paperless. And then we all had Selena Rodriguez from Pickford Escrow, and she was talking to us about the paperless side of her business, and then we tied the two of them in together. There was a couple things that we discussed. One of them was storing things to the cloud, and one of the other things we talked about was how to manage your PDFs. So this is the second in a series of 3 today where we are going to touch on just that very thing. And today I have Jim McCahill with us, who is smarter than anybody I know. In fact, he builds robots as a hobby. Who does that, right? And Jim is actually the tech guru, the mastermind that's behind all of the technology at California Title. He's the guy that builds it. He's the guy that does it all. So I'm going to really kind of hand this off to Jim. And what we want to try to do today, if possible, is we want to make this interactive. We want to get questions from you, and I think Jim will be able to see the questions as they come up. And this whole Zoom today, right now, is going to be focused on how you store to the cloud. And nobody knows this better than Jim. So Jim, I'm going to hand this off to you and let you run with this. And thanks for being here today, and thank you for your expertise and everything that you do to provide amazing technology to the agents of Berkshire Hathaway through Cal Title.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here and to talk to you about a few items related to cloud storage, and we can sort of talk at some point about how some of the tools that California Title provides tie into cloud storage. So that'll be great. So I've got some slides here that I'll jump into, and we can just get started. And then, as David mentioned, I like the idea of interactivity. That's great because I feel like that's one of the things about some of these classes where we can really get in, and since I'm here and talking about it, we can kind of dig in and answer questions, figure out some of the little nuances that maybe people are asking about, and find ways that we can help you in your business, in your daily lives, and help make things easier for you. So let's get started. Hopefully you can all see my screen, and here's a slide with my name and my title. So this is how I get involved with this stuff. Technology is definitely something I'm heavily into. And as David mentioned, I've usually got some slides about the latest robot or latest tech that I'm working on in my free time. I didn't really do that on this one, but I do have some good slides to talk to you about cloud services. So let's just jump on in. So when you talk about cloud services, people tend to get, I think, a little bit freaked out by just the term, the cloud. You know, it's something that for some reason I think people have a hard time wrapping their head around. So let's see, I see one person saying that they can't hear. Is everybody, you guys able to hear me? David, are you able to hear me? Yep, okay, couple raised hands, good. So good. Okay, yeah, that's nice. You guys are able to hear me. That's good. So let's maybe one or two. There's a couple of volume checks that we can do, but hopefully you'll get that sorted out. So the cloud, right? So what is the cloud? That's something that people tend to ask. And by the way, again, the chat is a good place to go. I'm watching that as we go along here. So if you do have questions, let's put them in the chat. That'll be great. So what is the cloud? That's a very common question you hear. And one of the sort of memes or things that I do think oversimplifies it, but in some ways is a good way of thinking about it, is this little sticker you'll see sometimes on like a bumper sticker or something. There is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer. So again, I think that's maybe not exactly a perfect description of it, but it's not bad. It gives you a good description. The cloud doesn't have to be overly complicated. So it really may not be one computer. It could be a little more complicated than that. It's probably a virtual server on, within a stack in a data center, but that's not something you need to worry about. You can think of the cloud as someone else's computer, and in many cases, that is really all it is. So going with that, let's talk about what it can do. So why would you want to use someone else's computer when you can always just use your own computer? Well, let's just follow a document. This is your nice document here that you've created and spent time with and worked on. So in a traditional sense, before cloud computing became popular, what would you do with that? Well, you'd put it on your computer, and I've got a little icon here. Looks like a little hard drive that symbolizes your computer or a computer. In this case, it's yours. So there's your document, and we'll just put that into the hard drive. So it's sitting there. Now it's in your computer. It's on your hard drive. You can pull it back up. You can work on it. It's great. But one scenario is, what if your computer hard drive fails or gets destroyed or something bad happens to it? There goes your file, poof. So nobody wants that. That's always a bad thing, right? So, well, you can back it up and there's things you can do, but that's something that we don't want to deal with. So let's magically bring that computer back. Here's your hard drive. It's back now. Another scenario that could be problematic is, okay, you've got your file and you're here next to your computer. You're working on it. It's right here, and you're sitting at that computer with the file on it. But what if the computer goes over here and you are all the way across town over here? So that can be a problem. You can't get to your file. And so I remember back in the day, people would be like, oh, you'd call your loved one and say, can you log in and email me that file? Or, those kind of things. But with cloud computing, that all is really you don't need to worry about that. So cloud services can solve a lot of these problems. So let's think about it in cloud computing way. So the cloud in the middle there, that icon, that blue thing, it's what we would consider the cloud. And what's that? Someone else's computer, okay? So there's your file. I put the little same file icon on it, meaning there's the file. It's saved there. But you can see all these little spokes that are tapping in. All those white lines that create those spokes, that's the internet, right? So that's your cable modem or your cell phone. It's just connectivity via the internet is almost always these days how the cloud is connected. And you can see I put a icon for the right next to each of those other devices. So we've got two computers, and we've got an iPad, and we've got an iPhone. So, and those are ways to get to that file, but the file also lives on those other devices. So most cloud computing services, instead of one file living in one place, it actually gets copied to all those other places. So most of the time, you're gonna have 5 copies. In this case, my diagram here, I've got 5 copies of that same file. And you might think, well, that gets confusing. What if you change one of them? But most cloud services, if you change it on one device, it will automatically make the changes on all the other locations, including the cloud. So that's kind of I tried to draw a fairly simplistic diagram of how it works, but it's just one more storage space. It's just one more computer on the screen here, along with my work computer, my home computer, my laptop, or my iPad and my iPhone. Those are all computers. The cloud is just one more of those. In this case, it's always available. It's always on generally. So that makes it kind of a nice one to act as the hub. And so when you change it on your iPad, the iPad will tell the cloud, hey, I changed the file. Here's the new version. The cloud is waiting, always on, says sure thing. And then the next time you connect with your iPhone, it gives it the new version. It synchronizes it. So I can try to explain that a little more here in detail as we go along, but that's a very basic, wanted to kind of set the stage on the cloud. It's not overly complicated. It's just someone else's computer that's always on. You kind of think of it that way. Okay, so what cloud services are there for file storage? Well, there's a bunch of them out there. And before I go into those, I've got a little list here of some things to think about when you choose a cloud service. Now there's free versions and there's paid versions. And you'll see that the rest of the points on this list can often vary quite a bit depending on whether it's free or paid. I tend to think you can get by with free pretty well. Most people can, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But there are a lot of cloud storage options out there for files, and with one or two of the free ones, you should be pretty good. But the other things that come into play are amount of storage. So how big is the hard drive on that computer in the cloud? Compatibility, lots of ways to get to that file. Can you get to it through a browser, a web browser? Can you get to it through your phone, an app on your phone? Those are compatibility means. We've also got backup and redundancy. Most cloud services include that, which is great. Privacy is something to consider. Is it a well-known company? And if it is a well-known company, is it the type of company that I would, if I've got sensitive data, do I want to trust that company with my data? I mentioned clients, ways to access. Some will have apps for Android, apps for iPhone, things like that. And then concurrent clients, once you put it on your iPhone, say a way to get to this cloud, you may also put it on your Windows PC or your Mac or your laptop. Some cloud services restrict the number of different doorways in, different devices that you attach to it. So that's something else to consider. So here are some of the big ones out there. All the ones on this screen offer a free version, and almost all of them a paid version. So, these are kind of the big ones. And on this next slide, I actually put who makes them. So you can see kind of who they're powered by. And obviously some recognizable names. The cloud storage is not going away. You can see some of the biggest names in computers here. Google, Microsoft, and Apple all have cloud services. The one at the bottom there, Nextcloud, I put you because that is an interesting one, which isn't essentially for really advanced users, it's a way to create your own cloud. And I don't know if we'll have time to talk too much about that today, but it's really kind of neat. It's an open source software that you can install on your computer and build your own cloud, which has some pluses and minuses. So let me run through the pluses and minuses really quick on some of these. Box is a good one, 10 gigabytes for free. I mentioned free is going to be good for most people because almost all these give you at least a gigabyte or two of storage in the cloud on that computer, on that someone else's computer. And that's really quite a large amount, especially when you're thinking that you're going to be synchronizing this amongst all your devices. You've got an iPhone, it might only have 128 gigabytes of storage anyway. So if you're going to be trying to download all the files from your cloud drive to your phone, 10 gigabytes will cover all of that. Now, there's other things you can do where you only bring down some files to the local device. It gets a little bit more complicated, but again, cloud storage, I don't think is really designed for things like giant movies or things like that. It can do well with photo backup, but and in those cases, paid becomes more of a thought there. But for things like business files, things that you're going to be working on in your day-to-day life, where you've got a PDF, you've got a contract from the buyer, you've got a property profile that you created on Title's website, and you want to get to it from your other computer, 10 gigabytes is going to be a lot. Box compatibility is good. They're not as big a name as some of the others, but still pretty good. Dropbox, this one was one of the original, one of the first cloud drives out there. Still very popular. I like it because it works on almost everything. They've got Android, iPhone versions, web, Mac, PC, everything. But as it's gotten older, they've tried to monetize by turning down some of the free services. So 2 gigabytes still should probably be enough, but that's getting a little lower. And my big complaint is that they, back I think about a year ago, made it so you can only access it from 3 different devices. So that became problematic for me because I have lots of different tech devices, and so it was only going to synchronize to 3 of them. So that's a little bit of a limitation there. Still though, very reliable, and I love the way they do their file versioning. So if you have a Word document and you change it over time, Dropbox will automatically take snapshots of the file over time so you can go back in time. It's almost like a time machine built in. Really nice. Google Drive. 15 gigabytes, probably the biggest free storage amount out of the list. Compatibility is very good, especially if you're an Android user for your phone or your tablet, or if you have a Chromebook. Google Drive is great, and it also links well with Google Docs, which is a huge other set of applications like spreadsheets and word processors. So it's very, very powerful. Some people may not trust Google's privacy as much as some others, but I think it's mostly anonymous. They may target some ads and things like that, or use your data as a way to get machine learning. But again, probably anonymous, and you get a pretty good amount of storage. Very reliable too with Google, obviously. OneDrive, that's Microsoft's, 5 gigabytes, and it comes built into Windows. So you don't even have to think about it. It's already built in to the latest versions of Windows. So if you're a Windows user and that's it, this one might be a great option. iCloud Drive, here's Apple's version of an cloud-based file system. And 5 gigabytes for free, medium amount. Very good compatibility, especially if you are on an iOS device. So if you're on an iPhone tablet, or an iPhone or iPad or a MacBook, boy, it's very convenient. It's totally built in and works great. So that's great for Apple. And then Nextcloud, that's the one I told you that you build your own. It's really cool because you can attach a hard drive to your computer and install this, and you can give yourself as much storage in your own cloud as you want. So that's really nice, but does take some more, work to set it up. So those are some of the offerings out there. Let me jump in live before I get too far in. I see a Q&A here. Question, is this also applicable to Android? Yes, so a lot of them are Android available. In fact, most of these you will be able to get to, but the ones I just talked about, they have an Android app and an iOS app. I think every single one of these do. So yes, the only thing is some of them show up a little bit better than others within your apps. So let me just kind of go in and do some live stuff, and then we can take some questions. But here on my computer, I'm just looking at my hard drive here, and you see I've got a Mac, and this is an iCloud drive. So I've also got Nextcloud, so multiple folders here, but they become a special folder. A little bit of software gets installed on my computer, which will talk to that cloud automatically. So my cloud account. So again, what's the cloud? Someone else's computer. If it's iCloud in this case, that's Apple. So it's a computer that Apple has on the internet, always on. So this group of files and folders that you're looking at here are on my computer, they're on my laptop, but they're also synchronized to a computer that Apple owns. And so everything I make change in here will automatically change on that cloud computer and any other computer that is connected to it. So right now I'm looking at this temp folder, and I've got receipts, blank, I've got a couple of pictures, and in this, I've got a screenshot here. So this is cool. Let me go ahead on my Windows machine. I actually have a iCloud program running, some software. So even though I'm running a Windows machine right next to this machine that you're seeing, it's got an iCloud client, an iCloud piece of software that synchronizes it to my account. So I've got a little document here, and I'm just going to type, "Hello, everyone. Great meeting. Thank you for joining." And then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And you can't see this right now, but I'm going to go ahead and save it to this thing. I'm going to call it hello and save. So I did that on my Windows PC. And then just now I saw on my Mac that you can see, look at that. There's this hello.txt, and I can just double click it and it's going to download it. And here it is. So I typed that on a different computer, saved it in that special folder that gets synchronized. And again, if you remember my diagram, it's now basically got 3 copies of the file. It's got one here on my Mac that you see. It's got on the hard drive of my Windows PC where I actually typed it, and it's in the cloud as well, which is the computer that Apple owns. So it's now lives in 3 places, which is great for redundancy if one of these computers gets nuked somehow. So that is how fast it can really work. Question here in the chat, it says, how did I get to iCloud? Now that's a great question. So you can think of it as, remember iCloud, it's a cloud storage service. It's someone else's computer. I never actually went onto that computer. Almost all these services, you install a little piece of software. And once you install it, that software does the job of going out to the cloud and making sure that the files are all synchronized. So it's really nice once you have the cloud, you pick a service provider, you install that little piece of software, and then you don't have to ever think about going to the cloud. You just work on your own computer. But if you do something on your own computer in that special folder, then you know that the software on your computer will synchronize it and automatically make copies in the cloud, update versions if there's already one in the cloud and you did some changes, everything. It handles it for you. So again, you don't have to think about going to the cloud. You just install the software. It sets up a special folder on your computer. And on mine, it's right here. It's this one called iCloud Drive for the Apple. Here's one called Nextcloud. And that one is another cloud service and another piece of software that's running on my computer. So I know if I put something in this folder on my local computer, it will go to that cloud. If I put something in this computer, it goes to my Apple iCloud. So again, try to think of it as someone else's computer. Don't need to go to that computer. You just install software that keeps your computer and that computer synchronized. Let's see if there's any other questions here at this point. Yes, so you save it to a folder. That's exactly right. If you want to save it to the cloud, you save it to a folder on your local computer that is set up as a special folder that gets synchronized to the cloud. Old documents on my Windows computer, how do I get them to the cloud? So yes, I need to install something on my computer. That's correct. Now, there is another option where you can go in through a website. Most cloud services also allow you to jump in via a website. So I can go to Dropbox.com. So Dropbox is another one we talked about, okay? And so here we go, Dropbox.com. So that now I can get in and I can see, oops, let me back up here. So I'm in a web interface. So this is just another way to get to it. If you use Dropbox, I recommend installing the software so that it makes a little folder on your computer, and then you never have to think about it. You don't have to go to the website and log in. I'm already logged in here, so that was quickly, it logged me in pretty quick. But again, if you use Dropbox, if that's your software of cloud version of choice, install it. And that way you don't have to, think about going to the web. You just have a special folder on your computer, and that's all you have to do. So let's go ahead and, in this case, I will go ahead and synchronize to my phone. So let me go ahead. So I've also got my phone here, and you can see on my phone, there's a Dropbox icon right there. We'll come back to that in a second. Let me go ahead and just create a file. So I'm just going to launch, close some of these windows here. And I'm going to go ahead and just say new file to go to my phone. Okay. And then when I save it, I'm going to say file, save as, and I'm going to put this one, actually, I'll just put this one on my desktop. I'm not going to put it in a special folder yet. I'll say sample file to sync. I'm just putting it on my desktop. That's all I've done so far. It does not live in the cloud yet. I just created this little file that I want to be able to get to from my phone, and I just added it to my desktop. But from this Dropbox account I'm logged into, I can upload. So let's see, here we go. Where's the upload button on here? I'm not used to using the web interface again. Oh, there it is, upload files. So if I click upload file, so this is another way to interact with your cloud drives, is to go to the website. And let's see, sample file to sync, there it is, and there we go. So I just uploaded a file to the cloud. I did it manually, but again, if I just had installed the Dropbox software, I would have a folder that I wouldn't have to worry about. And so instead of saving it to the desktop, I would have saved it to that folder. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let me go back to my phone and wake this one up and go to Dropbox. Let's see if it just synchronized it here. What's great on Dropbox is it'll actually put the latest stuff right on the front in a minute once it synchronizes. I don't think it's quite synchronized yet, but and it just acts like folders on your computer. So again, this is an app I'm in now on my iPhone, and I'm going to go to work stuff, and I think it was under miscellaneous. There we go. And let's see if it finished syncing down here under sample. There it is, sample file to sync. And this one was just a text document. Doesn't look like it wants to open it directly in Dropbox. So I think I can open it in a different app if I want to. See, open in, let's open it in, I don't know if Chrome will work. Let's try Notes. There we go, sample file to sync. So yeah, it's this one was maybe not the best example, it's just a TXT file, but a picture, a PDF, that would have worked much better. But it did synchronize over to my phone. So next up, before I go too much further, I'll check a couple more questions, but then I want to talk about how CalTitle's app works really well on our phone, and it works well with cloud services. But let me check if there's another question first. Yeah, so question, can I move folders from my Gmail to my Dropbox? And the answer is yes, pretty much. Gmail is an email service, so, but it's kind of part of the Google suite. So you could take an attachment that you might get as a Gmail. Gmail is email. So you get an attachment in your email account via Gmail. And let's say it's got a PDF. All you would have to do is save that in your Dropbox special folder, and then it would be on Dropbox. So yes, all the cloud, I have 2 cloud services installed on this laptop that we're looking at here, iCloud and Nextcloud. But as you saw, I also went to the Dropbox website. So you can have as many as you want on the same computer normally. So that's great. And you can copy files from one special folder into another, and then they will be synchronized to that cloud from there on out. Let's see, another question. If you install Dropbox on an iPhone, will it sync with my Microsoft laptop? Yes, so you can. Dropbox works great across multiple platforms. So you would install Dropbox on your phone, install Dropbox on your Microsoft laptop, log in with the same account, and you'd be synchronized. On the laptop, you'd have a special folder called Dropbox, probably. Put anything in there, and then you just pull up the app on your phone, and you'll find it. Another question, how do I assign specific file that is accessible to all 3 computers? Okay, that's a little more advanced question, and it can be done. So normally, the way cloud folders work is they sync everything. So you wouldn't have to assign a file to sync across. Once you add it to that special folder on your computer, or if you open it in your phone and say add to Dropbox, it's going to sync. It'll go to all 3. Any computer or phone or tablet, laptop that you've got the cloud service installed, whether it's Dropbox, iCloud, Microsoft, it'll sync. Now, there's times when I actually turn off that for, let's say, I've got a laptop that maybe doesn't have a very big hard drive. So I tell it, don't synchronize everything, just synchronize some things. And you can do that. And it's different on each service, but it is doable. And I don't know if I'll have time to show how on each one, but generally you can go into the web interface or settings and tell it, you know what, I don't want to synchronize everything, just synchronize this folder within my master cloud folder. Another question here. I use Microsoft OneDrive. What is your opinion of that cloud-based storage? I like OneDrive. Yeah, I think honestly, when you're looking at all those ones I kind of showed, OneDrive, iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive, they're all good. I tend to use the one, I tend to tell people that you're going to want to use the one if you're mostly a Microsoft person. OneDrive is going to be great because it'll be native to a lot of apps that you're using. So if you're an Apple user, if you're big into Apple and you've got an iPhone and a MacBook, iCloud is probably the one you like because it's going to be more places to get to it within apps. And since I brought that up, let me just use that moment to go to our app just really quickly. And here's the CalTitle CTC mobile app. This is where you can create farms and create property profiles and net sheets. And I do separate talks about this app all the time. Probably some of you have seen that. But just now, we're not really talking about the app that much, but we will mention its role in cloud-based storage. And what's great here, if I'm going to go ahead and go to my properties here in the app, these are ones I've done a net sheet or a farm. I think on this one I did a net sheet. So let me create a property profile on this property. And I'm just going to make it a full profile package, and including cover page, comps, everything. And we're going to go ahead and say view completed profile. So I just created this property profile for this property. Oh yeah, there we go. It's got all the property characteristics, bedrooms, baths. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, built in 2004. Great. Okay, so in our app, you can send this to your client. We have that button that says send/share. Let's hit that. And what a lot of times people do is they're going to say, email it or text it. You can text this profile right to your client by hitting that messages button right there in the middle of my screen. But what's really nice too, if you kind of scroll over, we're going to start to see other applications. And you can actually, if I hit more here, there's Nextcloud. So that's one of my clouds apps. So I can add it there. And also, let's see if I don't think my Dropbox one is showing up here. You can also send it to, let me go ahead, I can add it to the Nextcloud, and then it's just going to pull up an interface that says which folder. So then I can just pick the folder and hit save, and it just uploads it to the cloud. So I just uploaded that to the cloud. So that's what's really nice here. Also, you can hit files, which on an iPhone, save to files actually is iCloud. So there we go. There's work stuff. You know, I can just save it right there. So again, that's a nice feature, that send/share. It works great for net sheets actually too. I think that might even work better. The profile might send just a link to the profile when you do it and save it in the cloud. Still nice. It'll be waiting for you on your other devices, but it'll be a link rather than the actual PDF. But you can also do PDF too as well. But if we pull up a net sheet, I think that'll be really nice too. So if I pull up this net sheet that I created and I view the full report, that one got deleted. Let's see if one of these other ones would be good. There we go. I can hit send share again and save to files, work stuff, good. So again, I've gone into this CalTitle mobile app. Our send share button not only lets you email or text profiles and farms and net sheets, but you can also save them to your cloud drive where we can get to them later. So let me just take a quick peek here and see.
Jim, it looks like we've got some questions for you.
Yeah, good. Let's see. A couple more questions. I see another one here. I've got Windows 10. Do I need to install OneDrive? I do not believe you need to. I think OneDrive it does come with Windows 10. I'm almost sure of it. It'll be down in the taskbar at the bottom. I'm on a Mac here, so I can't show you my screen, but it'll generally be right down at the bottom in the lower corner. A lot of times they are in your little taskbar. So on a Mac, my taskbar is up here at the top, and I've got Dropbox, but I don't have it linked right now because I only have that 3 device limit on Dropbox. And so it just says sign in. But if I sign in, then it will create a folder and synchronize all the files that are in the Dropbox cloud. This one here is my Nextcloud. So I can say open the folder, or I can see recent changes. So here, I can see things like that. I can say, if I go to open folder, that's going to take me there. There it is. So there's my Nextcloud folder. Again, Nextcloud acts just like all the other ones. It's just, it happens to be that I'm hosting it myself. But it's a great feature. So property report, here's my property report. This is the one I actually just synchronized here. So I created this on my phone, but saved it to my Nextcloud account. And so now if I go here and open it up, let's see if it opens. Boom, there it is. So that's that one on Piatto Lane. So I was able to, essentially take it from my phone to my laptop. Now, with our app too, if you log into our website, caltitle.com, it actually synchronizes. We have our own cloud. So we do it behind the scenes. So you don't have to necessarily save it to save it and send it to yourself. If you just log into caltitle.com, you'll have any profiles or net sheets that you create on the mobile phone will be waiting for you, and vice versa. So we've built our own cloud, and this is one more thing to kind of tell you how the term cloud storage is sort of generic. We don't really advertise that. We don't say, oh, CalTitle's website, it uses CalTitle's cloud. We don't need to explain that, but the reports you create in our system do get saved on a computer in our data center, someone else's computer. And so that's a cloud. So again, you don't have to think about manually putting it in your own cloud if you're doing property profiles on our system, but it can do it. I wanted to show how it works that way. It's really nice.
Hey, Jim,
yeah.
There's one question I think a lot of people ask about the cloud is security. How safe is our NPPI and our stuff sitting in the cloud, especially when I've got clients' information? How do I feel about that? Or tell me.
Right. So yeah, that is always a concern, because the cloud is, as I mentioned, a way to think about it, someone else's computer. Well, do we want to have your files on someone else's computer? That is, I would say, something that you have to consider, because if you use any cloud service, by the nature, the file will be not just stored on your computer, except Nextcloud. That one there, if you roll your own and make your own cloud, then that you've got your own. But most people don't do that. You're going to use one that's already pre-made. I think for me, it's trustworthy. Our cloud, the CalTitle cloud, 100% we use 256 and 512-bit encryption, SSL certificates. We encrypt everything. We encrypt passwords. We are SOC 1 and 2 SSAE 18 certified. We make sure this thing is encrypted and secure and redundant. And so, we have been audited, and we self-audit as well. And we, on purpose, and we passed the audit. So ours, for sure, you can trust it. And by that, I would also say most of the other big ones, you're going to trust too. They're all going to be SSL certs. So when you log in, all the data that's going from your local device to the cloud and back is totally scrambled for anybody trying to get it. So I trust them pretty well, all the ones I've listed in my PowerPoint. And I think somebody did ask about the PowerPoint. Yeah, I can give you guys this access to this PowerPoint when we're done for sure. So yeah, I do. I think those ones are all pretty well vetted. They're pretty established. They all use encryption.
And Marie has a question for us. If you remove something from the cloud, does it remove it from the other computer, or does it stay there forever?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. Yeah. The answer depends a little bit, but normally, yeah, if you remove it on a single device. Now, the question said, if you remove it from the cloud, does it remove it from the other computer? It generally does. Most cloud services are set up to delete. So if I go ahead and these two files here that I created earlier in the meeting. Let me see if I can go in and delete them on my computer, and we'll see if they delete off my laptop here. Generally, yes. But most cloud services, as I mentioned, Dropbox is one that I really do like the way they do it. It will have versioning. You can go back in time and find files that you've deleted if you prefer to. It almost has like that trash can, and then you can go back and undelete them. But most of them do, go ahead and remove it on all devices once you remove it from any. So they become linked together. So I'm gonna go ahead on this work computer. I'm gonna go ahead and try to delete these 2 text files. Okay, I just deleted them. Let's see if sometimes it can take a minute for it to sync across, but it probably will remove them from my laptop here. And then I'll also, while we wait for that, looks like maybe not yet, but it can depend on the service too, by the way, to that question. Some will delete on all. You can also flag certain files to say, keep a local copy no matter what. So there's always options and ways to go around the rules, but for the most part, in my experience, there they go. So they just went. So it took a minute, but those 2 text files that I created on my phone, saved to the cloud, I then went on my Windows computer, deleted them, and then they just deleted here from the Mac. So I'll go here, same thing with iCloud Drive. I'll go down here to, let's see, I think we had it under temp. Yeah, temp. And then we had this file called hello.txt. So there's that hello. So I'm just gonna go in here to my iCloud Drive, temp. And again, I could delete it. I could also change it. I could rename it. So I'm just gonna call it hello renamed. Okay, so I just renamed it, and there it goes on my laptop. So it's a little hard to tell what's going on there because you can't see me typing on which computer, but I did not rename it there on the, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and delete it from from a computer that you don't see. Okay, I just deleted it, and there it went off the computer that you do see. So for the most part, yes, you can think of all that special drive that you have linked to the cloud. Any device that has that special drive are kind of working concurrently on it. So changes that you get, changes you make, deletions, additions, everything propagates to all devices.
Awesome, Jim. Looks like we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
One from Jim. Can you see that, Mr. McCahill?
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah. So Google Cloud for my personal pictures, how large? That one I don't know off the top of my head. Well, actually, I do kind of know because I'd use that on occasion. So this is we talked about photos. So I didn't get too much into that one, but a lot of these cloud services have special dispensations in a way for photos. They want you to use them for your photo backup. So whereas they might say you get a 5 GB drive if you use us for free, many of them have another level for photos. And I remember when I first signed up for Dropbox, if I linked up my phone and backed up my photos, it greatly increased my limit. And Google has a special thing called Google Photos. So if you use just Google Drive, you're still going to have that same, I think, 10 GB folders. But if you use Google Photos, it's a separate app, and it actually will back up all your photos from your phone, unlimited. But they're at a slightly capped resolution, but it's still pretty nice. I use my iPhone. I take pictures constantly, and I have the Google Photos app. And as soon as I take the picture, the Google Photos app says, okay, I got it. And it sends it to the Google Photos cloud, and it's there. And now I don't have to worry if I lose my phone, it's backed up. So I like the photo services. And like I say, Google, I think Amazon also will allow unlimited photo backup. So it's a little bit different than files, but if you want to do photos over the cloud, I highly recommend looking at that. It's really nice to do. Apple does a similar thing too. If I want to delete from my phone and keep a copy in the MacBook, yeah. So what I would do there is, for me anyway, I would, if I've got a file that's in the cloud, meaning it's in that special folder, and now if you remember my slide, I have it in multiple places. It's in the cloud computer, it's on my phone, it's on my MacBook. But now I think I don't want it on my phone anymore. I just want it on my MacBook. I would take it out of that folder, that special synced cloud folder, and just put it on some other folder on my MacBook. And that would essentially delete it from my phone, delete it from the cloud, but leave it on the local computer. That's how I would do that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Any free apps, Jim, any free apps out there?
Yes. So all the ones I kind of mentioned in the beginning, the ones I'll pull up my slide again, but all the services I showed, they have free versions. And I really think the free versions are enough in most cases. But here's, oops, let me go back to the list. Oops, I guess my animation slide here. Yeah, that's a good one with all the emojis. Get past that. But yes, they almost all have a free version. In fact, every single one of the ones that I showed how much space they gave you as a free account. So here, this list of services, they all have a free version. And when I showed you, it's like 5 gigabytes, 10 gigabytes, that's for the free level. So if you get above that, by then you're probably already a cloud expert, and then you can shop around and then you can look at paid versions. Then obviously with the paid versions, you can get a lot more space. And some of them have other features too with the paid version that are kind of unique. For me, I ran out of space on Dropbox. And so more so it was the number of devices connecting. And so I've dispersed around. And so I really use all these now, including the Nextcloud, which I host my own cloud now, which is really nice because I can host as much as I want.
And Google Photos is free too?
Google Photos is free too. It's a separate app, as I mentioned. Google Drive is for files, and you can still keep photos in Google Drive, but then you're going against your size limit. Google Photos is a separate app for photos only. It is still technically using cloud storage, but it's just for photos. And they do some special stuff where they optimize the photos, they cap them at a certain resolution, but it's unlimited photo storage. So it's a great way to back up your photos.
Awesome.
If you trust Google, which
awesome.
Some people do, some people don't, but yeah.
Well, Jim, again, I think everybody got a lot out of that, and this just falls in line with some of the stuff that we've been talking about earlier on today, and it's part of our Strive to Thrive campaign, where we know you're working at home, we know things are different, we know you're learning. Believe me, I am every day learning something new. Today was awesome, Jim, and your time is so valuable, and we appreciate it. We've got another one at 3 o'clock where we're going to talk about managing PDFs. That's another whole sexy subject that comes down to working at home. Any final questions that we have for Jim? And I think that we can make sure that we get a PowerPoint over to Sydney so that people will have this. I know Sydney's been recording this today for us. So any final stuff? Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. We'll see everybody who wants to go to the next level at 3 o'clock.
All right. Yeah, the 3 o'clock one should be a little bit shorter, I think. PDF, I got some great ways to just quickly tell you how to manipulate PDFs. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.